is here.
To about here, I think these are all double stacked.
Okay.
Here.
All right.
Alrighty. There's a bottle of water in there if you need one.
So double stacked up. This end's
Here.
double. Okay.
Yep. These are all
Singles. Okay.
There's just so many of them. That's a good thing. All right. So you got water. You got that.
Well, to the extent that. Good morning, Mr. Frylow. Yeah, that's the human I am. Yes, this voice for.
You said E flat, and I played E flat. It doesn't know it was your D flat. Can we learn other? Well, I know all the scales, but can we do other scales besides
Yeah.
flat?
In case you haven't noticed by now, I really enjoy just kind of getting right into the music.
One scale is good.
I don't really consider it a waste of time to do scales because we should do more, but
Music is funny.
I do like to play music a lot more.
But if you just say like do a C scale, I'm pretty sure most people know what a C scale is. You'd be surprised. No?
Yeah, well, I don't think you've looked at the practice habits of a lot of your brethren band people. I had 5 scales on the board last year. We would do 5 of them. 3 of them were okay, and the other 2 never got better as the year went on. And I'm just kind of like, okay. And that's it. All right, let's start each song. Valley Forge. Valley Forge. Valley Forge. The Valley Forge. TJ, shut up. Thank you. Not TJ, this TJ. Lesser TJ, be quiet.
Backflip on stage.
Ready?
Valley Forge.
Bum, bum, ba, da, 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 dum. 1, 2, ready, and. So yeah, so you're gonna make sure that don't play like how you feel right now, which is tired. Okay, forte in the beginning. Nice bomb. Wakey, wakey. 1, 2, ready, and. Good. And now the next song.
Oh, we're not starting.
We still have 15 minutes before we start playing.
Ready, 1, 2, 3, 4, beginning, pump and circumstance. 2, 3, and. Beautiful. Let's do. We don't have to do Star Spangled. We'll start Ferris real quick though. No, I mean I think we.
That'd be a little
I think
confusing.
that's okay.
We need a TV right there so we can see what's happening
I
behind
need a
me.
TV right here, so I don't have to watch graduation. Anyway, here we go.
Put on.
1, 2, here you go. Lovely, and cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Oh, you got me one. Thank you.
Yeah, we literally now we work here.
That's
We
cool.
practically work here. We went everywhere. There's a library. Yeah, we went to the library by accident.
Wasn't working.
This lady we saw, she was like, "Hi, how are you?" I was like, "You're not gonna question why we're back here?" Hi.
Okay, cheeseburger.
Yeah, we're practically. Okay, I was like, guys, they're playing. No, we ran for everything.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Thank you. All right, that's good. You can relax.
That's our new lunch table.
Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you.
See you never.
Don't go to the door, you can visit another door, right?
I did, yes.
Can I see it when you're done? So I went leaps and bounds for you.
No.
Okay.
I should have brought a fan.
Because I'm here.
Was Biggie Smalls a big man or a small? Was Biggie Smalls a male or a female?
I love it.
Everywhere. It's like we work.
Guys, guess how much this water was?
Oh, wow, Latano. They're doing a vocal selection from Dear Evan Hansen. Yes. You will be found. Wow. No. No.
What about it?
No.
Is your string out here? Little, like, line thing? Do you know what I'm talking about? No. Rilo?
What happened?
It's just not playing at 3 notes long.
What's not playing?
I've been thinking we can go while I try to be flat. Thomas to the rescue. You're my
Play me a
hero,
G?
Thomas.
I think your spring's out. That's happening pretty much.
I was like, I thought I was done with this. Squeeze is over. I'm not
I know. It never fails. Never fails.
Oh, with one instrument not working. Hi, Dad. People who's your dad, I was like, why is this guy staring at us?
I was like, I think it is. I don't want to say Megan just in case it's not, but I'm pretty sure.
I was saying, he looks like Megan.
Try it now.
Oh, but it's a half. No, I don't know.
I sweat.
Okay, go on.
Was it a spring?
It was a spring. It's good diagnostics right there.
I always had spring problems.
That's fun.
Good thing I have Disney Crossing Road. Smile, Megan. Smile. He's like, go away. You didn't smile, but I was like this. I was
So as soon as they're done handing out the diplomas, that's when we're pretty much going to play the alma mater, and then they dismiss them and we play cheeseburger.
What do you play? Like 10 years. I'm trying to take pictures of people with my clarinet. That lady's taking pictures. That's cool. Up there. That game looks annoying.
Thomas, did your dad ever
10 minutes until we start.
So who is Michael Burns and Maya, and I'm gonna literally pee my fucking pants. It's Michael Burns and Maya are soloists, and you're amazing.
I love Maya so much. Maya is
Gotta contain yourself over there,
she's
okay?
Belle's understudy for Beauty and the Beast.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she sang yesterday because
Yes.
Belle wasn't there, and she was so good. I almost threw up out of admiration for her.
Wasn't she Belle last year?
Yeah, but for not so common.
Yes.
That's entirely different block.
That's why she's understudying me.
That's okay.
She's the best person ever.
What is it?
It's free.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, it's a free show.
No, I regretted not bringing one. I didn't think about it until I got here.
I shouldn't have worn a full suit.
Oh my god, there are so many scholarships.
Look at that.
Look at this.
I want money.
Give it to your boyfriend when you're done. I swear you just said beef jerky.
I did. I didn't say cheeseburger.
Beef jerky in
I said beef jerky.
I said beef jerky.
Someone needs some sleep.
I love you.
She sleeping back there?
Hi, I love you. Yeah. Not in that group chat.
Megan, another photo opportunity.
That's like everybody from Africa.
As if one wasn't good enough. Both. What are you smiling at, chump?
Oh, wow.
I mean, like, I got real mad at him when he made an awkward situation between his friendship and, like, somebody else's.
What happened?
It's a long story.
I like long stories.
Yeah, I know you do. Thomas, you just like knowing drama.
I like
It's drama.
Speaking of drama, is Drama Club going to do anything more than just a cabaret next year?
Oh my god, yes.
Because, like, why have a drama club if you guys don't
Okay,
do anything?
okay. Me,
You guys don't do anything.
Depends who's president.
I want to create a show choir, like what we did for Song Time, just like a club.
Why don't we do a I can't do anything.
Yeah,
I've been in drama club for 1 year. No, not choir. No, sing show. I think we should do more. Like, we're
Oh, but we need a page.
Like, I'm glad that Joey did the cabaret because
No.
otherwise we would like, do you know how much money drama club has? I want to now be open to ideas and not close-minded.
I really want to be president, but I also know that I probably wouldn't.
I wouldn't like if I ran 7 women in drama for a year. Yeah.
I know Sophia's
I
gonna
never
love me.
actually paid president.
I think
I
so.
would be fine with Sophia being
People would
president
vote
because she's not close-minded and she's open to ideas.
People would vote for Sophia over me, so I'm not gonna even try.
For like not the show, but me and drama. Thomas, go for vice president.
I'll probably run for vice president because like I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be Sophia for president.
Sophia's very,
She's open to ideas, which is what I like. She's
Even
not
Dobby said
close-minded.
she would vote for Sophia over me. So if Dobby's not gonna vote for me, then I'll probably run for vice president.
Sophia would do a good job.
Drama people are so funny.
No, I hate everybody.
Because, like, you guys are so full of drama also, as well as being in Drama Club.
I don't think we're gonna be able to do a play this year.
Oh no, Michael said he doesn't want to.
Right? Wrong? No?
I think they're just Thomas. Thomas is the drama.
No.
It's not true. Everybody's
It's just Thomas.
I think I'm just like more open about it.
You are more open about it.
I think everybody else loves drama. I'm just
I love theater.
I'm kind of hiding. I'm just usually at the center of a lot of it.
Thomas, let's go bowling.
Let's try to not do that next year.
What time do we start?
Not soon enough.
Yeah, we're starting to play it. Hi, I'm sorry. I really late. Hi.
Okay, let's go. Yes.
How you getting?
No.
We're gonna go walk. Let's go waltz.
Okay, you can go waltz by yourself. I'm
like 3 sections.
For Mary Poppins
Dance can
auditions.
move well, doesn't dance.
For
I
Ma-
would put you from doesn't dance to move well.
For Mary Poppins, we did a tap and jazz routine, and during the dance audition, the choreographer was like, "Yes, Thomas." I'm like, "I don't even know you. Think you so much. I really needed that."
Me and Thomas need to waltz together
I
and be the
absolutely did
beast.
that. You know I did.
He's not good.
You're not the waltzer. Can you do any other dances better than the waltz? Oh, you're just not that coordinated.
I can dance.
Just ask.
He puts the
I
wrong
can't laugh.
knee out.
I've said worse.
Oh no. Remember, that is the least of our worries, okay?
Okay, yes.
Which knee I put up is the least of our worries.
Okay, getting a full rotation in our
I
arms
stared at it. I
already.
was like,
That's much more.
Everything else is good.
but you know what, guys, I saw this like meme where it was Elmo and there was like all the juice on one side and then like sugar on the other, and the flip was like concert music, and the sugar was what's that one song? Careless Whisper, and then it went to another picture of Elmo like snorting the sugar because he was Careless Whisper over fan. Because you know saxophone players just like are real annoying.
Awesome.
That's gonna be your gift on the Sunday. So if
Won't you ready to go?
So if I get the graduation speech next year, you know how teachers like introduce the students? Yeah, it would be you.
That's scary.
You're gonna make them crawl out from the pit.
Yeah.
Jump,
Like
jump.
grappling hooks.
There's a microphone right there.
Just
Good. I'll be
a
seen
voice
and not
of
heard.
God,
That's
just like
exactly what I was
voice
hoping
of
for.
God in.
Wait, her house that integrity because
2 minutes. 2
Thank you
minutes.
too. Sorry, I had to say that. Thank you too.
We're gonna play Valley Forge.
Michael got so mad yesterday. Like I had never seen him so angry. He was like, especially my Scotia kids, you guys aren't doing well. I was like, what were we doing?
I don't think it was me, so I was just like,
Sam literally gets like so defensive after he gets yelled at. I'm like, you have it coming from you. Don't shut your mouth.
I was like,
He's like, Becky, you don't like me. I'm like, you right. It wasn't me, and then I flew back because I was looking at Lexi, and then Michael yelled. And then I was like,
I don't think there's something.
yeah, but you do it at the right time.
Did you bring Mr. Beaver?
And I might
She already
cry.
have a beaver though?
Now she has both.
Wait, do you remember when mine was just like this with the beaver? Because Mr. Beaver's been gone a very long time. I get very lonely.
Not for long. Stop.
That was the whole point of it.
wait, TJ.
That was the whole point of it. It was mine.
Who's sick?
Started great.
Oh my god, I'm
All right.
terrified.
Here we go. Valley Forge.
She's my favorite. I love her.
Oh, she scares me. I don't.
Oh, I'm terrified. You should.
She's scary.
Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready.
Good morning. Will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the national anthem. I pledge allegiance
Good morning. I'm Susan Swartz, Superintendent of Schools. I have a few remarks I'd like to share with you this morning. Members of the Board of Education, Ms. Swain, Mr. Bednarik, Ms. Nofree, members of Administrative Council, members of the faculty, honored guests, parents and family members, and of course, the graduating class of 2019. I welcome you to the 111th commencement of the Scotia-Glenville Senior High School. Today's ceremony is a culmination of many years' effort on the part of our students and their families. To all of the audience members, I ask that you accord them the honor and respect they deserve throughout today's ceremony. Wednesday morning, students and staff gathered in the high school auditorium to practice for today's graduation. Mr. Bednarik gave me a few minutes to speak with you, and I asked you to remember to stop, shake my hand, and turn toward the audience after you receive your diploma so people can get a good picture of you. And I am sure you will remember to do that given this not-so-subtle reminder. As we practiced, I thought about what I might say to you and your families on this special day and hoped I would find just the right words. I thought about Mr. Bednarik's words to you. He reminded you twice that though today is all about you, it isn't just about you, that it is also about the people who are here today participating in the program and watching as you cross the stage and receive your diploma. So today I want to start by thanking some of those people. To your class advisor, Mrs. Sawyer, and all of the staff who help us prepare for today, please accept my deepest gratitude. Your attention to every detail makes this one of the most beautiful graduation ceremonies in the Capital Region. To my colleagues, your teachers and administrators, our Board of Education members, sitting behind me and in the audience, thank you. I ask that you be the best version of yourself for our students every day, and you do, even when it's hard, even when it feels as though we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Thank you to each of you. And most importantly this morning, thank you to all in attendance today. To the parents, grandparents, siblings, friends gathered here to honor each of you, a special thank you. You gave us your most precious commodity, your child, and worked with us to help them achieve today's honor. As hard as each of them has worked, as many long days and nights as there may have been, as many arguments as might have been waged, it is through your perseverance and love that these young people have made it to graduation. I cannot possibly thank you enough for your contributions and commitment to your children. And finally, the class of 2019. Were you worried I'd forget to talk about you? I have watched over the last 13 years as you have struggled, failed, struggled, and then met with success. I have watched your performance in the classroom, on the stage, in athletics, through our gift program. I know some of the problems and challenges you have faced and overcome at school, home, and in the community. I have, quite literally, watched you become the young women and men seated here today. I am awed by your talents and accomplishments, but even more so by the people you are becoming. Have no doubt, today is a commencement ceremony, a new beginning for each of you. I wonder what your dreams are, what lives you have imagined for yourselves. Yes, there is much behind you. 13 years of classes, homework, friendships, fights, sadness, and joy. But even with all of that, there is so much more in front of you. I look at you and see your intelligence, compassion, energy, and spirit, gifts that will take you to all kinds of places, serve you through good and bad times, and propel you onward even as you leave this chapter of your life behind. I look at you and imagine the future, a future made better by the contributions you will make, by the ideas you will discover, by the kindness you will show others. The future I imagine, the one you will shape, awaits you. And of course, I will worry about you, wonder where you are and what you are doing, the life you are creating. As the actor Kerry Washington said, your life is your story, and the adventure ahead of you is the journey to fulfill your own purpose and potential. May today be the next step in your journey as you discover your purpose, your potential, your life. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the Scotia-Glenville Central School District, I wish each of you the joy of a life well lived, the respect of your fellow human beings, and the love of family and friends. Please accept my congratulations and best wishes to each of you on this wonderful occasion. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Peter Bednarik, Principal, for the recognition of the Class of 2019 medals. Thank you.
Good morning. Would this year's Scholastic Honor Medalists please approach the stage at this time? The Scotia-Glenville High School Scholastic Medal is given annually to the members of the graduating class who have completed their studies with the highest academic achievement among their peers. Once again, this year's seniors in this group took rigorous honors level, advanced placement, and college courses during their years in high school. These 26 students with the highest averages in the class truly excelled in their academic lives, and they productively challenged each other and set an example for our student body. They were acknowledged recently in the Schenectady Gazette for their scholarship alongside others in the Capital Region. And we commend these young men and women for their discipline, for their excellence as students at Scotia-Glenville High School. As I call each one's name, they will walk on the stage, and Superintendent Swartz will confer their medals upon them. The recipients of the Scotia-Glenville 2019 High Academic Achievement Medals are Christiana Bianchi, Liam Burke, Corinne Conley, Gwyneth Curry, Breeze DeJong, Quinn Dong, Gabrielle Estes, Haley Francois. Amy Fuller. Catherine Gallagher. Alexandra Gerald. Tatiana Ligerio. Molly Malone. Abigail Marola. Emily McCarthy. Brianna McLaughlin. Keith Ogden. Thomas Omazinski. Ashlyn O'Neill. Sophia Schaub. Michaela Schoonmaker. Lauren Sill. Robert Joey Titus. John Tuftgard. Caitlin Wilson. Asia Winnie. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your class of 2019 Scotia-Glenville High Academic Medal winners. Congratulations. At this time, I'd like to ask that the departmental medalists, along with their academic heads, directors, and department chairs, join me on stage. The Scotia-Glenville High School Departmental Medal Awards are given to a member of the graduating class in each of the disciplines. The recipient must have completed a sequence in the discipline, excelled academically, and demonstrated commitment and enthusiasm for study in this subject area. This morning, our departmental leaders, and some standing in for a few who couldn't be here, will be presenting these departmental medals. The Social Studies Department Medal is presented by Ms. Susan Vacris, Academic Head of Social Studies, to Breeze DeJong. The English Department Medal is presented by Ms. Susan Vacris, Academic Head for English, to Breeze DeJong. Physical Education Department Medal is presented by Mr. Jamian Rockhill, Athletic Director, Head of Physical Education, to Catherine Rumfelt. Science and Health Department Medal is presented by Ms. Megan Johnson, Academic Head for Science and Health, to Keith Ogden. Mathematics Department Medal, presented by Ms. Megan Johnson, Academic Head for Mathematics, to John Tuftgard. The Language Department Medal is presented on behalf of the Language Department by Ms. Christine Nofri, Dean of Students, to Daniel Raymond. The Occupational Education Department Medal is presented by Ms. Christine Nofri, Dean of Students, to Colton Moranville. The Art Department Medal is presented by Ms. Nancy Lucier, Director of Fine Arts, to Shaylin Cars. Music Department Medal, presented by Ms. Nancy Lucier, Director of Fine Arts, to Liam Fitzgerald. The Technology Department Medal, presented on behalf of the Technology Department by Ms. Nancy Lucier, to Nicholas Wolf. The Business Department Medal is presented by Mr. Michael Parks, Department Chair of Business Education, to Abigail Bacon. The Family and Consumer Sciences Department Medal is presented by Ms. Laurel Campbell, Department Chair of Family and Consumer Sciences, to Lillian Cremo. And once again, these are your academic departmental medal winners for the class of 2019. Congratulations. At this time, would you please join me in welcoming the Director of Choraleers, Ms. Jessica Creasy, along with our graduating seniors who are part of our select chorus, the Scotia-Glenville Choraleers.
Ever felt like you could disappear, like you could fall and no one would hear?
So let that lonely feeling wash away, 'cause maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand.
dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. Lift your head and look around, you will be found. You will be found. You will be found. You will be found. You will be found.
There's a place where we don't have to feel unknown. And every time that you call out, you're a little less alone.
If you only say the word, from across the silence, your voice is heard.
Oh,
Someone will come running
oh,
to take you home. Someone will come running to take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. If you only look around, you will be found. You will be found.
you will be
You
found.
will be found. Out of the shadows, the morning is breaking, and all is new. All is new. It's filling up the empty, and suddenly I see that all is new. All is new.
You are not alone. You are not alone.
You are not alone. You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone.
Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need someone to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found.
So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you reach up and you rise again. If you only look around, you will be found. Even when the dark comes crashing through, you will be found. You need someone to carry you. You will be found. You will be found. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of His hand. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind beat at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your
Please join me in another round of applause for Ms. Krishy and our choral leaders. And it is now my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Liz Fawcett, who's going to introduce our first graduation speaker, Myles Petrowski. Ms. Fawcett?
Good morning on this joyous day. It's a strange mix of emotions to see a group of students graduate from high school. I have felt this way before, and I will no doubt feel it again, but never to the extent I do with this particular group and the young people of the class of 2019. You have each had such a profound effect on my life as an educator, and as you graduate, I am seriously a better person for knowing you. I was very honored when Myles Petrowski asked me to introduce him today. You see, I have been given a gift from your class. I am so proud to have known Myles, like many of you, at the start of your kindergarten year up until now as you began your adult life. Watching you grow up is something pretty spectacular. Myles was born eager to learn. Myles might not remember this, but back in his kindergarten year at Glen Warden on library day, he would calmly come into the LMC following a line of his classmates. He would listen politely as I gave directions on where to sit for the visit. Once I turned my back, Myles would do a mad dash to the story corner, which is located on the other side of the library. When he arrived there, he would do this perfect World Series slide right into the story corner. Now, so you see, he wanted to sit on the alphabet letters. When he arrived there, he would say, "Awesome, the letter M is here." The first few times he did this, I thought, wow, here is a student that totally can't wait to hear a story, which is really a dream come true for every librarian. But then it dawned on me that Myles was 5, and when you're 5, the alphabet letter M, when your name begins with the letter M, is really what matters. But then what Myles didn't realize was that he taught this rookie librarian that you have been loaned to us temporarily for the purpose of instilling a foundation on which your future lives will be built. Myles, thank you for teaching me that. The letter M set the stone for your years that would follow you. You owned that initial with the heart of a champion, always willing to learn something new, and always with a sense of humor. Your enthusiasm for lifelong learning only continued into your high school career. The LMC staff grew to appreciate the time that you spent in the high school library, often 2 to 3 periods a day. I share with anyone who will listen out there that if you ever get a chance to be on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that Myles Petrowski should totally be your phone a friend, because he is a sure win. This kid knew every single answer to every daily trivia question located at the library sign-in for his entire senior year, and he didn't get it ahead of time. Myles is a curious and passionate person who is aware of the many issues that plague the world, and he wants to do something about it, and I know he will. He is focused and disciplined and sustains effort and resilience no matter what the challenge. I know in my heart he has what is needed in order to be a great leader as he prepares for the United States Coast Guard. The mission of the Coast Guard is to ensure our nation's maritime safety, security, and stewardship. I can personally attest that Myles will uphold this vision. He has been nicknamed the deputy in the high school library, and he even bought himself a badge to prove it. Myles often humorously assists the library staff in the daily routine of assuring that all students sign in properly and legibly for safety. He even brought in one day a set of walkie-talkies. He gave one of them to the front desk staff, and the other he kept for himself. Myles would radio a code 4 when students were not eating dry snacks only, or if they even tried to attempt to drink a cup of coffee at a computer. The Coast Guard vision consists of 3 components: to be ready, to be relevant, and to be responsive. Myles is all 3. Myles is ready to be prepared to serve and protect the American people and our national interests. Myles is relevant as a law enforcer and regulator, and soon our country will confidently rely on him to address the increasingly complex maritime challenges that our country faces. Myles is responsive and will employ action to excel in mission execution as he protects and defends our homeland. Myles, you are a constant inspiration to me and your peers. I am amazed at your maturity, confidence, and independence. The manner in which you conduct yourself at school and in the community is class act. The commitment you show your study, your school, Scotia families, and your classmates is infectious. Thank you for walking into the library every day full of life and laughter. Thank you for keeping me up on the modern lingo and slang and the newest YouTube videos that I have to watch. I'm going to miss you begging me to answer the LMC circulation desk phone every day, especially when the big boss at district office happens to call that extension and you answer the phone, student speaking. Students like you keep me young and give my job meaning and will forever keep me on my toes. If there was one thing that I hope you walk away with from Scotia, is the fact that you matter and you are powerful and you have the ability to improve society along with your whole class. I hope that you recognize your greatness. Thank you for allowing me to be your teacher for 13 years. One thing you might already know about teachers is that we tend to save everything just in case we might need it again for a special occasion like today. When you entered first grade, your class, the alphabet carpet squares were actually replaced with a really new rug that had circles around it with the alphabet imprinted in it. Well, Myles, I did some digging, and I found a gift to present to you this morning. I couldn't let you come up here and give this fabulous speech that you prepared for your classmates today without giving you the original letter M. May the letter M continue to symbolize that you are rooted in a strong foundation of goodness. It is my humble honor to welcome Mr. Myles Petrowski to his very own Story Corner.
I can't believe it. Good morning, family, friends, faculty, and fellow graduates. On this day, June 29th, 2019, we are gathered together within the walls of Proctor's Theater, unified by our ties to Scotia-Glenville High School's class of 2019. I would like to thank Mr. Peter J. Bednarik, Mr. Thomas W. Fivey, and all of the faculty and staff at Scotia-Glenville Central School District for providing us with a platform on which we stand, gazing out at the vast sea that represents our unknown futures. On the day we entered this school as children, it was absolutely unfathomable to think about the long-term benefits of this platform. Today, we all realize its importance through our new perspective as adults that will take society by storm. For the last 13 years, Scotia-Glenville High School has been our safe harbor on life's ocean. Throughout our elementary school, middle school, and high school years, we have stayed in the protected waters of the harbor. In this tranquil harbor, we have learned more than just academics. We have learned more than how to fill in a bubble on a multiple choice test. We have learned more than how to present on topics that we have studied. Perhaps the most important things that we have learned to date are the values of loyalty, friendship, leadership, empathy, and ambition. These values, above all others, will help catapult us to adulthood success. However, our time in the friendly waters of this harbor is rapidly waning. As the sun rises on a new day and the open sea ahead of us is illuminated, we as graduates will leave this harbor and venture out into the great beyond. What lies in store for the rest of our lives at this point remains unbeknownst to all humankind. When we leave this harbor, many of us will have specific destinations in mind, destinations that we have perhaps thought about since early childhood. However, there will be other ports along the way, and during this journey, our final destination might change. Let's face it, this is perfectly normal. As my grandfather always says, I've been working for over 50 years, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And believe me, I'm sure many people in Proctor's Theater today would echo these exact sentiments. The journey that we all travel on the sea of life is truly multifaceted, and as graduates, we cannot allow our vision of the present to be clouded by grandiose views of our final destination. Whether we transition into the workforce, the military, or some form of higher education, many of us have goals that will continue to drive and motivate us. Again, this is perfectly normal. As the motivational speaker Les Brown once said, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you will still be among the stars. So in other words, keep striving for the best, by all means. But if things don't work out as you may have planned, all is not lost. Many others have walked in these same shoes, and oftentimes the wisest and most successful individuals have failed multiple times. Now I use this term of failure very loosely, because in this context, it certainly does not denote a lack of success, as stated by Merriam-Webster. I believe that the alternate definition of failure as a first attempt in learning is more appropriate for this situation, because sometimes we must learn through the process of trial and error in order to find out what's best for us. I'm sure that every teacher who has the poster on the wall of their classroom is secretly patting themselves on the back right now, and honestly, I don't blame them. At this point, let's just make it public. I would like to invite all of the teachers and staff members here in the audience today to give themselves a big pat on the back, because without you, we wouldn't be here. Mom, that includes you, because even though you don't work for Scotia, you're still a teacher. I can also guarantee that in a literal sense, I wouldn't physically be on Earth without you, but we're not even gonna go down that road right now. I can see Kelly Mayette sitting there in the front row, and she's laughing her head off right now. And she's not the only one either. I can see the rest of my family back there, and they're saying, "That's funny!" The other Kelly, though, ouch. I might be in some trouble when I get home. My mom's name is Kelly, in case you didn't know. Anyway, now that we're done thanking the people who have helped pave the class of 2019's highway to the danger zone, it's now time to discuss some of the challenges that lie ahead on this sea. Yes, I did make a Top Gun reference, and I don't think that anyone is surprised. It was definitely the right time, and I do not regret it. Thank you to Dr. Kerwin for playing this masterpiece in A-Push at the end of an otherwise grueling year. It took some of the pain away from the low essay grades that most of us inevitably received, which, let me tell you, was definitely much needed. Looking back, though, I'm sure that we can agree that the minor setbacks suffered in high school will help us in the future, because we have learned how to face challenges head on and not back down. Because as we all realize, there will be challenges. That much is certain. We will encounter stormy weather with towering waves and blustery winds that may blow us off course. There will be times when we will feel alone, like a small boat in the middle of the wide-ranging sea. During these trying times, it may feel that we have nobody to help us conquer the challenges of life. However, it is important to remember that we are all Tartans, and though we may not always be able to see our fellow Tartans in the vast sea, the simple fact that we will continue to be here for each other will serve as solace in times of distress. Also, the knowledge and lessons that have been given to us throughout our time here will serve as navigational aids in the sea of life, keeping us away from harmful areas where our boat of life may run aground or capsize, causing the tremendous potential held by each graduate to be wasted. At this point, I'm sure that y'all are sitting here thinking, how much longer do I have to endure this? How is this relevant? Or some version of these two statements. On a completely unrelated note, I can also see that Mr. Bednarik has the button depressed on his walkie-talkie, and I'm gonna take a wild guess that Proctor Security is currently en route to drag me off the stage. Sorry for calling you out like that, Mr. Bednarik, but I've got eyes in the back of my graduation cap. Some people are laughing, some are like, I don't get it. Yeah. So anyway, before security gets here, I will give you the words of the great Abraham Lincoln, a man who had the tremendous gift of conveying complex ideas with just a few words. During his famous Gettysburg Address, Lincoln said, "The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here." Although high school seems like a trivial part of life for many members of the class of 2019, I encourage you to truly reflect on this time. I did, and after a period of personal reflection, I realized that in regards to Scotia's class of 2019, Jason Aldean's song titled "Tattoos on This Town" speaks volumes. In the chorus of this song, Aldean says, "It sure left its mark on us. We sure left our mark on it. We let the world know we were here with everything we did. We laid a lot of memories down like tattoos on this town." This lyric particularly describes the class of 2019 because it shows how Scotia has shaped our past, present, and future while being shaped at the very same time by the individuals that have occupied its hallowed halls since September of 2006. Unfortunately, Mr. Lincoln could not be with us today for the 111th commencement of Scotia-Glenville High School. Sorry to disappoint you folks, but I forgot my top hat today. Looks like you're gonna have to listen to me on this one. So reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time, because it's gonna be a bumpy ride. I won't pretend that I have Mr. Lincoln's ability. Few people do, but I will attempt to paraphrase his words and relate them to today's events. As a tree of life drops its leaves of time into the swirling winds of tomorrow, the people gathered within this theater will not remember the words that have been spoken today. However, none of us here today can ignore the current and future accomplishments of the class of 2019, and most importantly, the profound impact that this class has had on the school, the town, and the people who occupy both. As a fellow graduate, I encourage you to point your metaphorical boat toward the vast ocean spread before you and take one last wistful look at the harbor in which you were nurtured. Now that that's out of the way, there can be no looking back. With the strength, passion, and virtues that we've learned throughout our time at Scotia-Glenville Central Schools, we must steam full speed ahead out of the harbor and chart the course for our life ahead of us. So, I leave you today with these three words, words that I hope will serve as a compass to help the class of 2019 navigate the turbulent waters of the sea of life. To my fellow graduates of the class of 2019, chart your course! Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fawcett, and thank you to Myles. Myles, Mr. Bednarik would like to speak to you for a few minutes after the ceremony. Just kidding, Myles. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Christopher Judd, who is going to introduce Alexandra Gerald, our second graduation speaker. Thank you.
First of all, congratulations, class of 2019. Give it up. I'm honored and grateful that Allie asked me to introduce her. I have known Allie as a student since sophomore year in AP Biology and for 3 years in science research. To introduce her, I could list her accolades, of which there are many. In addition to participating in every athletic season possible, Allie is on high honor roll. She's a member of National Honor Society and a Tri-M Music Honor Society member. I could go on. But instead, I will tell you a brief story about the power of imagination. and a lesson that Allie taught me. In science research, I often give students an assignment to read a peer-reviewed science article and then teach me about it. When it was Allie's turn, she brought me a paper on psychology. It was about what happens when you feed salty pretzels to kindergartners and then ask them, what do you want tomorrow, pretzels or water? Of course they all answer, water! That makes sense, they're thirsty in that moment. They can't imagine their situations being different tomorrow. They can't imagine their needs might change. Allie explained that this ability to predict your future wants and desires is not innate. You aren't born with it. It's a skill that must be developed. As you get better, as you learn, as you grow, you develop that skill. Now here's the part where Allie taught me something unexpected. Allie explained that other researchers have shown that your ability to imagine yourself in the future in different circumstances is the same skill you use to connect to other people. If you can imagine yourself as a different person, you can feel for them. You can empathize. You are more caring and more generous. Another way to look at it is that our relationships with one another extend from our ability to empathize with ourselves, our future selves. As you sit here imagining your future selves, remember Allie's lesson. You are practicing a skill that allows you to connect to others. It is a skill worth developing. I thank Allie, and I'm grateful for what she has taught me. As you listen to her speak today, I am confident you will learn something new, just as I did. I am also sure that Allie will make a lasting and positive impact on those around her after graduation, as she sets off on her path to her future self. Without further ado, come on up, Allie.
Myles got a carpet, I got a hug. Hello and welcome. I would first like to thank you all for being here today. Family and friends, thank you for coming to support your graduates. I'm sure they're very thankful you're here. It is a really big day for us. Faculty, thank you for getting us all here. We couldn't be here without you. Legally, of course. And students, we are graduating. We're done. Finally. Whether you're sad or not, it has got to feel like at least a little bit of a relief to finally be here. My name is Alexandra Gerald, and I am here to give a graduation speech. The crazy thing about this is that there are no parameters for what to say. No classic essay prompt asking for a certain length or word count. It is extremely open-ended. It is essentially the English project we all hoped for, but never got. All that is given to you is a packet saying when auditions are, and that's basically it. So going into this, I didn't exactly know what I was doing. All I knew was that I was going to write a speech, which I had never done before, and hope for the best. This was obviously a pretty hefty goal. I was told by a lot of people beforehand that there's always got to be a girl speech and a boy speech. The boy is the funny one, and the girl is sentimental. I was not completely certain that was true, but I am not usually the type to intentionally follow stereotypes and gender roles. Some may recall my haircuts freshman year, or my blunt lack of fashion. Prom last year was my first time wearing makeup since my childhood dance recitals, and I hated it. It didn't feel like the real me. Growing up shouldn't be about changing yourself to the norm, but instead changing the norm in order to stay yourself. A speech like this is meant to appeal to the whole audience. That can be difficult due to the spectrum of personalities all cramped into this big sweaty room. I guess what I am trying to say is that I don't know what to say to make everyone happy. I do not know how to live up to everyone in this room's expectations. How can I relate to all of you? Satisfy what you want out of these few minutes. Keep you all awake. I suppose I could try to inspire you all. I could tell you to dream big and never give up. Live your life for whom you want to be. You know, chart your own course. But that's some standard content for a graduation speech. You've already heard all of that stuff before. Thank you, Myles. So, as I was trying to come up with what to say, a quote I love came to me. It is from Gina Linetti, a character from the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Life is chaos. Success is arbitrary. And confidence is everything. These words mean a lot to me. This quote came from the episode saying goodbye to Gina's character. She was leaving this job she has had for years to venture into the unknown towards bigger and better things in life. She said this to her boss, who was trying to discourage her from leaving, but she reassured him that she would be okay. Leaving somewhere comfortable for a better future was what she knew she needed to do to continue being happy in life. She was able to stay confident in herself, even though everyone else was worried for her. That's a lot like what we're about to do. We are at the point where everything is about to change. This year has been like the Battle of Saratoga for us. You know, a major turning point. That joke was exclusively for people who endured middle school social studies. Anyways, this year has been about preparing ourselves mentally for whatever is to come next. We're all taking that leap in our lives together. Going from our comfortable lives in high school into a place we aren't familiar with quite yet. I firmly believe that as long as we stay confident in ourselves, whatever we do next will come with ease. If we look at our time alive, our high school careers were 4 years of our lives, which, if you did the math, is about 22% of our time on Earth. Kindergarten through graduation has been about 75% of our existence. This means that for the majority of the time we have lived, we've been learning things that would get us to this moment right here. It's almost crazy how old we are, right? Doesn't it feel like not that long ago we were still losing Spirit Week? 4, 4, 3, 2, most improved. How about finding snow in the hallway? Or not being allowed to go watch Ted Cruz at McKeel? Even better, watching absolutely nothing change about Mr. Crounce when he gave up Monster energy drinks for Lent every year. Or wishing Dr. Kerwin would just randomly start singing his twin Rick Astley's song, Never Gonna Give You Up. Best though, everyone coincidentally all having doctor's appointments on opening day of Jumpin' Jacks. So much happened in these 4 short years we have spent together in that one building. It's crazy how fast it all flew by. Some things feel like they'll last forever until they're done. Some things feel like they are chaos until they're done, such as school, Mr. Predwicki's Gross of Physics videos, tests, song time, or graduation speeches. Did I mention school? As Gina Linetti would say, life is chaos. We all know that pretty well from experience, especially from these last 4 years. But we managed through it all, and we're able to come out more confident. Does everyone remember their first day of freshman year? The worry of getting lost in the hallways, or not knowing if you just walked into the right classroom? Remembering which locker was yours, and how to get in, because in high school, the locks are attached, so it's a whole new combination you've got to learn. Remember that initial confusion you had when you were told by upperclassmen that there's a pool on the 3rd floor? Which, of course, now we say that. Do you remember that first day of lunch where you didn't know where in the cafeterias to sit, or who you necessarily wanted to sit with? Maybe you couldn't even find your friends, or when you did, there was no room left. Cafeterias are the epitome of chaos. Maybe you had to buy lunch, and the different options and stations confused you. But after just a few weeks, those fears faded, and you got used to your new surroundings. You were able to become more confident in the paths you took from class to class, and you knew exactly where to sit at lunch, because once you choose your seat, for some reason it almost never changes. I don't know why that happens. That is a question for a psychologist, which no, I don't know much about, despite my introduction. You might also recall your first ever Regents exam. Those are definitely chaotic. Where do you go beforehand? What do you do with all your belongings you probably didn't need to bring? How do you decide whether or not you could trust whoever you just left your cell phone with? And where in that giant gymnasium were you supposed to sit? All the while, you were probably a bit nervous about taking the test and how you would do on it. After a few times around, though, you learned the ins and outs and do's and don'ts of taking the Regents, and you knew exactly what to do. Maybe you were still nervous for the actual test, but who isn't? But there's always that feeling of relief when you can raise your hand and get out of there. I remember how I felt after finishing my last Regents ever. It was physics too, so you can imagine it was honestly one of the best feelings in the world. Like I have said, these scary, chaotic experiences will lead to feelings of confidence. When we look back, to quote one of our favorite substitutes, Brady King, well, it could have been worse. Even outside of the walls of the high school building, we have faced chaos. All of us have passed our road tests, except maybe one of us, who shall remain nameless. Okay, I'll give you a clue. One senior who had perfect attendance has not passed her road test. I mean, his or her road test. When you first started learning to drive, you probably weren't perfect at it. It probably felt pretty chaotic to be in charge of a 3,000-pound vehicle while your parent is shouting directions to you from the front seat while clinging on for dear life. Ask my parents. But you practiced enough to feel confident enough to take the test. Once you get there, though, maybe the nerves are building up as you're waiting in line, making your hands a little sweaty. You are just itching to get it over with. Once it starts, maybe you are able to take a deep breath and stay calm. Maybe not. But after you've finished and get your passing score, hopefully, you feel pretty good about yourself. You simply had to rely on the fact that you knew what you were doing. Now we drive around town with supreme confidence, blasting whatever hip song all the cool kids listen to, chugging our Dunkin', and parking sideways in the school parking lot. That's every day, not just the senior prank. We all need some more work on parking straight. Parents, it's real bad. But we have become so confident. We know if you keep moving down the aisle, you'll eventually find a space. Probably not, though. Bad parking takes up a lot of space. So do juniors. Get here early or go park in the teacher lot. Even just this week, we had the pleasure of experiencing the grueling, chaotic hours of graduation rehearsal. We've been together for years. We thought we knew everything. We thought we knew our friends. Just to hear that Sam has a middle name of just M, until he corrected it to be Martin. Look out for the two boys in a row with the middle name Matthew. Kira Malumbi has been Sierra for 13 years, and I'm sure the trend isn't over yet. And by now you all may have learned that no, my full name is not Allie, but Alexandra, not Alexandria. There's no I, and my middle name is Noel, not like Noel, but Noel like Christmas. And last but certainly not least, Robert III gets beat out by a Robert IV. We also were almost allowed to scramble out of there before getting the chance to practice the recessional, but they caught it just in time. And a quick shout out to Mrs. Sawyer for all the work she did for all of this. She truly made order out of chaos. All of our chaotic experiences together through these years have in some way made us into who we are today. I mean, aren't we all feeling pretty confident now? Except for you girls who chose to wear 5-inch heels. Or boys. Those stairs are steep, man. I almost kill myself walking up here in Converse. After all this time, you're receiving your diploma. It's like marking off the box in your to-do list of life. High school? Check. And no more chaos can begin. Going off into college, work, the military, or whatever else you might be planning on doing. You don't know exactly what you will be doing, but you will figure it out along the way and look back knowing it really wasn't that bad. You'll remember all of these past chaotic experiences, and navigating the unknown will come easier and easier with practice, just like driving and navigating Proctor's steps and stilettos. The chaos will feel more ordered and comfortable. You will greet new and daunting experiences like an old friend. Our chaos together has come to an end, although it doesn't have to stay that way. Technology today has made long-distance communication so very easy. I look forward to sending you all Facebook friend requests out of nowhere in 30 years, and I am confident you will accept it, just as you have already accepted the chaos. Thank you.
And please join me in another round of applause for our graduation speakers this morning. And it's now my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. David Buchfero, Board of Education President, for his comments.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's an interesting time of the year for all of us. I remember when May comes around, I get excited and nervous that graduation's about to happen. and I have to sign 200 diplomas, and I'm going to get a cramp in my hand, and then I got to figure out what I'm going to say. I think, first of all, to those of you who have never been to a Scotia graduation, how cool is it that you have bagpipes playing as you walk down the aisle, and you get to hear the best chorus in the world play for you, 2 songs, and then you hear tremendous speeches by 2 students that are just magnificent, and then I've got to follow them, which the board president should have some say in what order here that we get to talk. So I was thinking of what I was going to say, and I had to travel to Washington this week, and I said, well, I know the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask all of you to stand up, the graduate students, the graduating students. So if you would stand up and turn around and give those of you who supported you for all these years a round of applause. And then before you sit down, if you would turn around and give those folks behind me that have given much of their time to try to educate you and make you better people, round of applause. So thank you. Thank you. You can remain standing if you like what I say, but if not, you can. So my son Alex, who's out here supporting his friend Caitlin, who's in there somewhere, said, Dad, what are you going to talk about this year? And I said, well, I think I'm going to talk about what I'm going to Washington for. So I went to Washington to speak at a congressional briefing on health care and patient access to data, and I go, God, that's going to be boring. So I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And so I'm thinking on the train ride to New York, where I was going to stay in my office Thursday and do some work. I get off the train, and there's a group of individuals celebrating Pride Week in New York City. And I go, that's it. I'm going to talk about inclusion. I'm going to talk about cultural relevance. I'm going to talk about how it's critical that we as a society accept people for where they are and what they do. And I said, well, I said that last year. So I go, I got to think of something else. So I'm on a train coming home, and I leave New York, it's about 7:30, and those of you who are familiar know that you go through the train, and you go through the tunnel to get towards Albany, and when you come out, it's like bright sunshine if it's a day, and in this case, it was about 8:45, and the sky was beet red. It was just beautiful. And I go, oh, yes. And the guy next to me goes, what's going on? And I said, not wanting to say that I now have this idea, because I saw this poster with a homeless person laying on the ground and a hand reaching out to help him. I now have what I want to talk about. I said to him, it's a red sky. It's sailor's delight. That means it's going to be beautiful tomorrow. And he goes, oh, that's cool. And I go, don't you know tomorrow's Scotia fireworks? It's the most important thing. And I think he looked at me like I was nuts. Maybe I should have told him that it was the sign that gave me the idea what I wanted to say. So what I really wanted to talk a little bit about to you was, as you go forward in life, reaching out and helping someone else is really the value I hope that you take away from your time here. I think it was Muhammad Ali maybe said that you measure wealth in 2 different ways, that you accumulate for yourself, but the most important wealth is the wealth you've given to other people by your presence and your help to them. And so I kind of hope that each of you will follow this just little thing that says, God gave us 2 hands. One of them is to help yourself, and the other one's to help others. And so whether you decide it's through volunteerism, volunteering for something, whether you decide that you're going to get into the service area whether it be health or the service, and those of you going in the service, I thank you. I hope that you'll find in some way, some possible time in your lives and what you do to reach out and help somebody else, whether it's just a moment in time or whether you dedicate your life to it. I think what you'll find is that more happiness will come from that than any other success you share. So I congratulate each of you. This is a really wonderful class. I'm amazed at how many individuals had grades above 90 and how wonderful you did. And looking at many of your accomplishments and the things that you've done with various programs that allow you to help in the community, it's overwhelming. And I just hope all of you walk away with that thought, and that's what you want to do in life and can bring forward no matter what field you're in. And so you're all going to go out there and party tonight, and you're going to have a good time, and I encourage it. But please do so with safety. Be safe, and carry through with you one thought, which is really carry Tartan pride wherever you go. Thank you.
And thank you to Mr. Bucciferro. And now I would ask you to sit back, relax, while we prepare the stage for graduation. There'll be a musical interlude. Thank you.
1, 2, ready? 1, 2, ready? So listen,
Please join me in thanking Wayne Myslinski and Dave Bond for their efforts to get our stage set for the conferral of the diplomas. I'd also like to recognize and express my appreciation for all the faculty members, administrators, and Board of Education members who've joined us on the stage this morning. Seniors, this is a representative group of the many faculty and staff who have supported you through your primary and secondary education. And as you look at the faces on stage, think back to those earliest years, your journey from kindergarten up through elementary and middle school and eventually high school. These professionals and all their colleagues who are now on the stage this morning have been there for you, steadily and consistently pointing out the way and encouraging you towards the achievement needed to make today a reality. On that note, we're going to take a moment, though today is really about you, we're going to take a moment to recognize a few of this important group who are retiring from Scotia-Glenville High School. Would Rick Warren and Bill Leiden please join me here at the front of the stage? In keeping with Scotia-Glenville tradition, Ms. Swartz, our superintendent, will be presenting an honorary diploma to each of these individuals in recognition for their service at the high school in just a moment. First, I'd like to recognize a retiring teacher who's not able to be on stage with us this morning. Ms. Cheryl Urban-Wessinger has worked as a speech and language therapist at Scotia-Glenville High School for the past 15 years. Prior to coming to Scotia, Cheryl worked at St. Catherine's for 22 years. During her time at the high school, she was a valued member of the special education teams. She worked with students of all abilities during her time here and has a truly unique approach to her work with students. She provided, of course, work with speech sounds to students at the high school, but it's her work with language that truly set her apart from most speech therapists. She has an incredible talent for taking the curriculum and applying it to each student's individual goal in a way that suits their specific needs. Cheryl reaches out to other teachers, collaborates multiple times throughout every day, wanting to learn about the courses that are being taught as they change so that she could provide our students whatever they needed to be successful. Her incredible versatility allowed her to move from one class to another and adapt to each environment. She never looks at a student and sees a problem or something wrong, but instead sees the whole child first and finds a way to connect with that child in the most positive manner. Mrs. UW is a willing participant in any initiative that holds promise for our students. All you have to do is mention an idea about a poem or a project, and she'll volunteer to put it together. She provides a quiet strength to those around her and never wavered in her dedication to both staff and students in our school. We wish her a full and rich retirement with her husband David and her beloved dog Otis as she travels to the Cape and enjoys time with family. Congratulations, Mrs. Urban-Wessinger. Mr. Leiden joined the Scotia-Glenville School District in September of 1992. Over his 27-year tenure as a school psychologist, he's worked in all of our buildings and has served in several different roles. He began working with students and staff at both the high school and junior high school. At that time, he also had the responsibility to support students who were enrolled in BOCES programs and other school settings. About 8 years after beginning in the district, he accepted the position of chairperson for the Committee on Special Education. And after missing direct work with students, Mr. Leiden transitioned into a part-time school psychology position at Lincoln and continued his work as the committee chair. Eventually, he made his way back to the middle school and then once again to the high school, where he's completed his career by supporting students and staff. Mr. Leiden's also served as the district's response to intervention coordinator, providing leadership and training to staff regarding academic data collection. Throughout his career at Scotia-Glenville, Mr. Leiden's been known for his strong advocacy for students with disabilities and their families. Having worked in many roles in many buildings, he's maintained relationships with students and their families from elementary school all the way through graduation. For many years, students have profited from his skillful identification of their individual learning and social emotional needs and his sincere interest in their success. Many of our graduating seniors this morning have known Mr. Leiden even from their days in elementary school right up through today. We wish him well as he has time for his family, for fishing, for enjoying the outdoors, and of course, rooting on the Green Bay Packers. Congratulations, Mr. Leiden. For 30 years, as a teacher and a coach, Mr. Warren has been a mentor for countless students coming through our middle and high school. He's a caring person who has worked well with so many staff for the good of our student body. As a matter of fact, a quick review of his history here shows that he's worked with well over 200 different teachers, 3 middle school principals, 6 high school principals, 5 English department heads, 6 head football coaches, around 50 assistant football coaches, along with countless parents and volunteers. He began his career teaching in February of 1988 at Scotia Junior High School, and for years traveled between the middle and the high school. When students arrived in 9th grade, many were made to feel comfortable by the smiling face and booming voice of Coach Warren. Mr. Warren has taught nearly every level and type of English class available. He's acted as a coach for many in the high school senior year, needing to get through that last long struggle to graduate. His specialty is sitting with students day after day as he pushed them to write their final projects, whether it was for his class or for others. He's always erred on the side of giving students one more chance, one more opportunity to succeed. Over the years, Mr. Warren has also spearheaded several innovative academic projects, including the Global Alternative Energy Debate, where Scotia-Glenville students had the opportunity to video conference with students from all over the world to exchange ideas about the future of energy production and consumption. But perhaps his greatest contribution to our seniors was teaching them to always question what they read and see in the media. He tried to get students to think for themselves about the messages they receive and what kind of agenda might be underneath the surface. He will enjoy this well-earned change of pace in life and continue to find new ways to encourage others to achieve their full potential. Congratulations and thank you to Coach and teacher, Mr. Warren. One more round of congratulations for all our retirees. As we recognize the long and fruitful careers of these educators and think about their transition to retirement, they are in some ways similar to the situation that our seniors in the class of 2019 are in. This is your commencement ceremony. No, you're not retiring like these faculty members, but this is the end of something you've been committed to for a long time, and it's the start of something new and significant, the next phase of your lives. It's a great reward for all of us at the high school to be able to see you at this culminating point of your K-12 education. My colleagues on this stage hear me say each year that this is the highlight of the year for me, and I know they share that same sentiment. It's always my privilege to be able to address seniors and our community one last time before you leave us as students and become alumni of Scotia-Glenville High School. It's a privilege because I know about the effort and the sacrifice and the struggle that's a part of bringing you to this accomplishment. It's a privilege because this is such a critical moment in your lives. And it's a privilege because I've seen the passion and the dedication that my colleagues have invested into you so that you could be here to walk this stage this morning. We've had a front row seat to watch you grow and learn. And although I'm confident that you've learned much during your education, it's our privilege also to have learned some things from you as you walked your way to this stage. Some of you tried to slip and slide your way to this stage, but you're here nonetheless. As we've prepared for commencement this week, I've been thinking about you and your community of family and friends here to celebrate this moment. My thoughts keep coming back to teaching and learning. After all, that's what formal education is about, right? Learning and teaching. But teaching and learning isn't limited to just the scope of formal education and what happens in schools. Learning transcends the boundaries of school buildings and school settings, and teaching comes from myriad sources, even unlikely sources. And teaching is certainly not limited to a classroom. I'd like you to think and consider one last question this morning. It's a question with 2 parts, and no, there won't be another exam. The question is, how will you learn next, and who will be your teacher? A prime goal for most of us in education is to inspire lifelong learning. And while I think that most of you are off to a great start on this journey, I'd like you to take just a moment to think about this question, because the answer is big and broad. How will you continue to learn, and who or what will be your teacher? To this point, your teacher has been some of the folks on stage and others standing in the front of the classroom. Sometimes they've been in the back of the room, alongside you, facilitating as you learned in the classroom. Your teachers have been coaches in art, music, drama, athletics, and more. Your teachers have been those adults in this community who brought you to dance lessons and coached your Little League team and led your scout troop and organized the parade and gave you your first job. It might be hard to admit it, but your teachers have also been your parents and your grandparents and those who have loved you and supported you through your life to this point. But your teachers are not limited to all these important people. Experience has been your teacher as well. The struggles and the successes you have faced, the trials and triumphs, the sweet times and the sad times have all been part of the learning. As a class and as individuals, you have experienced loss and sadness. You faced tragedy and encountered some of the harsh realities of life, perhaps earlier than any of us would have wished for you. Some of you have had circumstances which have caused you to have to grow up much faster in terms of your responsibilities than any of us would expect. You've encountered fear and uncertainty while growing up in a world with communication technology that has the capability to spread panic in the fraction of a second. You've come of age in a time when many have had to face the challenge of anxiety, depression, and when all the generations of our society seem to be wrestling with the meaning of civility and empathy. And these experiences have been your teacher. And from both success and failure, you have learned. If you're thinking about my question, where will you learn and who will be your teacher, I hope you think broadly. It might be simple to think, well, I'm going to college, or I'm going to a trade school, or off to work where someone's going to tell me everything I need to know. And that's probably true to an extent. But sources for learning and teachers, in the broadest sense of the word, are far more plentiful and will be a part of your life forever if you allow it. Someone once said, there's more opportunity for learning in failure than in success. Think about the things that you've learned to this point in your life and how you learned them. There's even an opportunity for learning through pain and sorrow. I was reminded by a retired superintendent in this region last week about the poem by Victorian-era poet Robert Browning Hamilton. It goes like this. I walked a mile with pleasure, she chatted all the way, but left me none the wiser for all she had to say. I walked a mile with sorrow, and ne'er a word she said, but oh, the things I learned from her when sorrow walked with me. As you go forward from your primary and secondary education, where will you learn? And who or what will be your teacher? Don't shrink back from digging deep in the experiences of this life. Make connections to others, real relationships, not just by clicking a little blue button that says add friend, but by reaching out, thinking about someone else, helping someone else. Will it get messy? Will it hurt? You bet. Will you continue to experience gains and losses? Yes, it's all part of the growth. Remember Tennyson's famous words at the end of his poem, memorializing the loss of his close friend. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. The challenges make the victories and the successes all that much sweeter. And today we celebrate success and accomplishment. We have the gift of this moment together to recognize and revel a bit in all that it means. You've persevered, and each of you about to receive a diploma on this stage have finished this part of your course. Some of you will walk across this stage and accept your diploma as the first in your family to go to college with a scholarship. Some of you will be the first in your family to go directly into a career that you've been preparing for. Still others of you are the first in your family to graduate from high school. Each of you should be proud of your individual accomplishment. Each of you in this auditorium has people who have supported you and are proud of you for what you've done and what you've overcome. I know there are individuals on this stage, myself included, who will feel some of that deep satisfaction and pride that your family members feel when you walk across this stage, because we've seen your path. We've seen you struggle, and we know some of the hairpin turns and steep mountains you've had to climb in order to make this commencement. As of this morning, many of you have chosen noble fields of work and study that will benefit our world and our environment, and we can't wait to hear the good stories about what you will do as you are soon alumni of Scotia-Glenville. I know a number of you have chosen to make the great sacrifice of military service. For that, we in this community and all across our nation are thankful, and we support you with our respect and our appreciation. You carry the Tartan tradition of service and sacrifice in a very tangible way. For those who are not entering the military, consider what shape your service might take for our country and the many ways you can contribute regardless of your career. From emergency medical services, volunteer fire service, to the clubs and organizations that have already given so much to all of us. The Lions, the Elks, the Rotary, the Kiwanis, the youth sports. Opportunities are all around. Don't wait. Get involved. As I've watched the class of 2019, I have learned from you. I've learned about many of the things that are important to you as individuals and as a collective. I heard from individual voices in the Give reflections how volunteer service has changed you in ways you never even imagined. I've learned about compassion from the ways that you have taken care of each other in the hardest of times. I've learned more about Tartan pride as I have witnessed the way you've represented your school in so many different venues, on the fields, in the auditoriums, and in the community, right up to that outstanding rendition of our alma mater by the Choraleers at the senior banquet earlier this month. I also learned we might need a fence by the river at Riverstone Manor. I have seen you celebrate each other's successes. I have seen you work together on teams. I'd even venture to say that I and the other adults who are here on the stage and have been in your lives, our learning process has been enhanced by you. In many ways, you have been our teacher, and now as you go out from the Scotia-Glenville community, continue to teach and to learn. Engage with others and the world around you in big ways and in small ways. Commencement is just the beginning of the teaching and the learning. Congratulations, class of 2019. Caroline, at this time, would you please lead our seniors to the edge of the stage? Just before we begin to read the names of our graduating seniors this morning, I would like to pause in remembrance of Luke Polsinelli, whom our school and this class specifically and tragically lost during his sophomore year. Luke was always and will always be a part of this class of 2019. Would you please join me at this time in a moment of silence to remember him? I now invite Nicole Polsinelli, his sister, and her friend Olivia Weeks to cross the stage and accept an honorary diploma in Luke's name and memory. The flowers on the stage have been contributed in Luke's memory to the family through the donations of the class of 2019. As I'm about to read the names of the graduates of 2019, I must take a moment just to request that we continue to follow the Tartan tradition of an orderly, dignified ceremony. This is a momentous occasion, and I ask that we respect all of the graduates and their family and friends here by allowing each one the opportunity to hear their names as it's read aloud. We'll observe each one as they receive their diplomas. Folks can certainly feel free to move down into the first couple of aisles here and take a picture as your name is about to be read. We'll celebrate these great accomplishments together with an enthusiastic applause when the final student's name is read. And finally, you will note that the number of the names listed are not present with us this morning. Some of those are SGHS graduates who completed their work in August of 2018, and so we will recognize them today. Mr. Bucciferro, it is my honor and privilege to certify on behalf of the faculty that the individuals whose names I am about to read have completed the requirements for and are entitled to receive a Scotia-Glenville High School diploma. Kelly Christine Mayette. Christiana Bianchi. Corinne Elizabeth Conley. Gwyneth Joan Curry. Breeze Ethan DeJong. New Quinn Now Dong. Gabrielle Lena Estes. Haley Jean Francois. Amy Nicole Fuller. Catherine Tommy Gallagher. Alexandra Noel Gerald. Tatiana Kathleen Legerio. Molly Catherine Malone. Abigail Claire Marola. Emily Barbara McCarthy. Brianna Rachel McLaughlin. Keith Matthew Ogden. Thomas Matthew Omazinski. Ashlyn Estella O'Neill. Sophia Jean Schaub. Michaela Ann Schoonmaker. Lauren Kelly Sill. Robert Joseph Titus III. John Thomas Tuftgard. Caitlin Autumn Wilson. Asia Jade Winnie. Abigail Patricia Bacon. Lillian May Cremo. Liam Kennedy Fitzgerald. Shaylin Noel Cars. Colton Frederick Moranville. Daniel Sami Rahman. Catherine Mary Rumfelt. Nicholas John Charles Wolfe. Myles Jacob Petrowski. Elizabeth Ruth Bryson. Olivia Jade Burnett. Michael Conrad Burns. Jarrett Fritz Iannotti. Sarah Glynis King. Andrew Christopher Kolarczyk. A. Ella Rose Merritt. Kira Margaret Molumby. Blaine Thomas Parsons. Nathan Paul Phillips. Micah David Schultz. Andrew James Soroki, Jr. Maya Grace Thompson. McCarrica May Tyler. Samuel Martin Whitehead. Logan Alexander Adams. Nathan Matthew John Agnetta. Julian David Aldy. Bonnie Rose Allen. James Robert Almond. Jillian Harley Appel. Jenna Rose Aragosa. Evan Thomas Ostro. Allison Jennifer Barrega. Natalie Ann Bean. Joshua Ian Bogie. Maya Ray Bellamy. Christopher Douglas Berg. Tyler John Blackman. Rachel Ann Blick. Daniel Lawrence Bloomer. Jason Raymond Borsowitz. Ashley Nicole Brott. Ryan Jonathan Brott Blonde. Macy Olivia Brown. Michael Andrew Brownell. Brian Richard Bruce. Paul Joseph Charles Burns. Gianna Rose Caffarelli. Jacob Ryan Case. Marielle Elizabeth Calderon. Brendan Timothy Caldwell. Tyler Nicholas Canoe. Kaylee Nicole Carlisle. Ashley Nicole Caesar in absentia. Andrea Cianferrani. Nathan John Szynski. Emily Nicole Clark. Sharina Rose Shea Clow. Alex Stephen Coffin. Erica Shawn Conley. Justin John Connolly. Trevor Nathaniel Cooper. Dante Alexander Capola. Gavin Alex Xander Corey. Troy Alexander Colohan. David Alexander Curry. Mason Richard Zabin. Victoria Spencer Darling. Angelique Katrina Marie Davis. Incenzio Jordan Davis. Olivia Michael D'Angelo. Kayla Catherine Morgan Dobies. Madison Michelle Dunham. Stephen Howard Erickson. Sophia Lynn Estrada. Kyle Shane Finch. Dakota John Fiore in absentia. Nicole Marie Forstel. Marcus William Frechette. Alexander Morris Gish. Emily Joy Goki. Madeline Ruth Graham. Jake Anthony Gazuski. David James Hacker, Jr. Emily Lennon Hale. Kyle Patrick Heller. Aviana Del Carmen Hernandez. Samuel George Holcomb. Scarlett Adele Hudman. Matthew Thomas Hunter. Rosa Lee Introne. Nicholas Robert Jebjiniak. Dominic Daniel Jack. Hiram Jacob Young in absentia. Zachary Niles Kirk in absentia. Jacob Joseph Konak, Jr. Lucas Richard Konak. Justin David Cubeau. Andrew Christopher Lamorta. Eric Lynn. Taylor Rose Mahoney. Kyle James Malloy. Nicholas Joseph Marola. Jacob William McKenzie. Lauren Alexandra Megan. David John Miller in absentia. Justin Michael Motel. Sophia Divine Moya. Caitlin Rose Murtaugh. Robert Ryan Nash. Sarah Danielle Nieves in absentia. Colin William Normington in absentia. Isabella Marie Olori. Justin Richard O'Neill. Braden Douglas Ossenfort. Kyle Patrick Pajak. Marcus Lawrence Peone. Leilani Michelle Perro. Lucas Joseph Parsons. Rihanna Kaylee Passano. Sydney Rose Peterson in absentia. Jade Peyton Pelletier. Benjamin Connor Perkins. Tyler John Perry. Benjamin David Petralia. Nicholas Thomas Pino. Sage Lynn Plemenick. Alexa Marie Powers. Sarah Elizabeth Purdy. Rachel Helen Rankin. Jesse Joseph Rankin in absentia. Nathaniel Jordan Rankin in absentia. Brianna Elizabeth Relation. Cody L. Richards in absentia. Ryan Joel Thomas Rockwell. J.C. Frank Roman Jr. Claire Elizabeth Rooney. Jacob Christopher Rousseau. Kevin Andrew Rowland. Brittany Ann Rust. Rachel Tiana Salamone. Alina Sammons. Carrington Catherine Sanders. David McDonald Sanders. Addison John Schaub. Kayla Elizabeth Seguin. Ryan Scott Semerad. Brandon John Sharrow. Samantha Ann Shepard. Elijah Connell Starks. Nicholas Raymond Story, in absentia. Angelina Sindel Suarez. Nikolai Anton Swain. Erica Lynn Sawicki. Sakia Sayedi. Lena Jewel Sylvain. William Charles Taylor III, in absentia. Jonathan Ian Thompson, in absentia. Omar Lee Torres. Gregory Thomas Turner. Austin Raymond Van Natten. Sierra Kathleen Van Patten. Jason Anthony Van Welly. Hannah June Vasquez. Eric Lee West. Elijah Jonathan Wilson. Gabriel Thomas Winters Bona. Robert Lee Wood IV. Madison Lynn Wright. Isabella Rose Zenobio. Heather Marie Zulo. Liam Hanley Burke. Will the class of 2019 please rise? Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the authority vested in the office of high school principal, I declare the members of the class of 2019 to be graduates of Scotia-Glenville High School with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations, 2019. I'd like to ask everyone to stand and join in singing of the Scotia-Glenville alma mater.
Betty, cheeseburger. 1, 2, 3.